Okay, this will be a guide on how to do Gloom as TT with the updated cave tactics where the mesmers spike the last two groups of cave on spawn. So you have to time your SOH is a little bit different compared to just putting an SOH and jumping in the cave whenever there's a rub group coming your way. You have to do it a bit differently this time, and I'll show you how. So usually you'll have a cupcake up still as TT if your veil is good, which is completely fine. I also like to always have a cupcake for Gloom as well, especially when I'm running dash, so that I always have the 33% speed boost on top of the dash, which is really nice for quest running as well. But otherwise, you can only keep a cupcake on as TT if you start like after city. So so you can start at city, and then once city is done, you can have a cupcake the rest of the run. But in this run, we started foundry, and so just after city, I always have cupcake on, which is completely fine. I prefer it. So make sure you get the quest at the start. Usually here at the start, either if you don't have toolbox, you have to run through here and trigger the NPCs. But if you do have toolbox and you only have the patrol still in the trench, you can hoss up. Otherwise, if you didn't pop Gloom Trench, I don't like to hoss up because usually the team is never in time for you to trigger right away. But if there's only the patrol, then they should be on time to for you to trigger right away. So here, you can pop a mini pet or a ghost and you just hoss off of it. And then a little bit before you aggro this group, you want to cast your shadow form so that it's recharged whenever you trigger cave, and you can cast it right away then. So there's a few ways you can enter cave. So there's potential for any of these mobs to be a spirit like this one here, and if it's any of these close ones, then you can aggro it and run straight through, and by the end over here the spirit will cast his barbed arrows or whatever the heck his preparation is, I forget, but he'll break them. But I personally don't like it. I've had too many cases where I mess up, or I can't trigger cave right away, so then the spirit keeps on me even though I run straight through. Just a lot of things. So I prefer just to put an SOH here, which you should always do, and then I like to run on the side of the NPCs. If you wait like a few seconds here, you can usually just squeeze past all the mobs and you just don't have to aggro anything. And sometimes if there's sandies over here, if you take too long to run through cave and you aggro the sandies, then by the time he stands out, they can daze you, and that's never fun. So it's like a 2-second time loss if you don't run through the enemies, which is completely fine. I also popped a ghost there, or a mini pet, just to speed it up, because I knew this could have been a decent time. So whenever you see the team ping hard mode, or say on like TeamSpeak or Discord that you can trigger, you have to run in like aggro range of like the second NPC to trigger cave, or that line if you have the custom marker. Okay, so it's aggro range of like the third one actually. So whenever you trigger cave, you want to cast your shadow form, and then make sure you have shroud as well, and then you stance out. So unless you have a direct path, because remember we put SOH over here, but we only ended up over here. So unless you have a direct line of sight to the shadow of haste, you'll end up like right here, which is what I prefer because I don't want to be all the way over here. And also you have to put SOH super early over here if you want to put SOH on this side of the wall at cave. So unless you just sit there really long and wait for your SOH to recharge, it won't be in time unless you put your SOH super early. So whenever you stance out, I like the DC because unless you are delayed, you can always run DC and catch a majority of this side of cave, and then I aggro everything and then sidestep. So if you bring Dark Escape, whenever you stance out, you're still gonna have Dark Escape up. So regardless if you have a cupcake or not, you are going to have to sidestep. unless you run dash and you just don't pop a cupcake in Gloom, which is weird, but people do it, I guess. This is why I always use a cupcake, because no matter what, unless you sit there and auto attack to get rid of Dark Escape, you're always going to have a speed boost. So after that, you DC, you grab everything, and then you sidestep, and you try to get a majority of these mobs. So anything that's like over here, you're going to end up aggroing whenever you run and put an SOH over here. And then anything over here, like these two mobs, you can't really get all the time because they're super far away, and depending on the patrol timing of them, you might have to go like super far over there to grab them. So I don't really grab them that often, but if they're in my path, then I'll grab them. And besides, the mesmers will run past and kill these before they spike cave anyways. So once you DC in, you grab everything, and you sidestep all the way over here, you put an SOH over here. After that, you sidestep in a cave, and then you walk past this little corner that I just walked past. So this is a safe spot, and you pretty much want to safe spot everything here because of the rubs. So whenever you get to the safe spot, make sure you cast SF on recharge if you have corn and egg, which you should with these new tactics. So whenever you cast SF right away, you're gonna have the flashes come in, and then that's when I sidestep a little further back and finally get recall on the NPCs. So you're going to wait in here inside a cave until your stance runs out, or you can dark escape out or dash out after the spirits come in. So if you notice the emo or anyone on the team is probably the emo mostly, if you notice they're poisoned right after the mines start running towards you, then they probably have a spirit on them and they're tanking the spirit group, which is these three. So if you want to, you can stance out once you see that, but I usually just don't like to because it's safer to just wait for the spirits to come in. So let me rewind a bit. So now your SF timing, so your first SF you cast when you're in the safe spot is on recharge, but the second shadow form you cast, you have to wait like literally till the last second before you cast. So your timing for shadow form once these sanities comes in is a little bit better. So once you have your spirits come in, you can stance out or let SOH run out, one of those two, and then you are waiting for these sanities to come in. So if you notice they're delayed, then you have to DC in based on your shadow form timing and not based on when you aggro these. But since nobody really delayed these, what you end up doing is you put an SOH like a second or two after you aggro them, then you DC into cave, and then you walk back, go in the safe spot, and then you cast shadow form. And once again, I'm casting shadow form right before I need to cast it again, or right before it's going to run out. So now, once you aggro those and you're in the safe spot, you're just going to sit here again. And now there's just one more rep group you have to worry about. So the soldiers came in, so they're spiking the second earth group. And anytime now, there's the second rep group. So this has 2 spirits and a sanity. And once again, I'm casting SF right before it runs out. Now, if your SOH timing is bad here, you will have to kind of sidestep over here, aggro these, and like hoss off them and pull them into cave past his safe spot over here. But my timing was fine. Oh, I moved up. Whoops. Okay. So my timing was fine here. So on this one, you need to let your stance run out unless you have dash. If you have dash, whenever they're behind the safe spot, you can just stance out because your dash is going to be recharged for this pull. Otherwise, you need to let your SOH run out if you're running Dark Escape. If you Dark Escape out on this last group, then it's not going to be in time for this pull. So once you see the last group that you need a ball comes in, which is the 1 water, 1 soul, and 1 heart group, you aggro it, you sidestep, and then you put an SOH in this corner over here. So let me play that again. So, aggro that last group, and then right in this corner, there's a little physical little corner you could walk in right here. I always put SOH there just for a more consistent ball. And then you end up, you can either sit right here where my assassin is right now, and you can wait for your SF to recharge before pulling any further this way. But usually if my SF time is good, I just go straight to the corner, and then I stance out and then cast SF. But sometimes people have trouble getting into this spot where my SOH was, because if there's some mobs lagging behind, then you're not in a safe spot and they can hit you from like all the way over here. So you can get SF erupted, but I did it correctly here, so nothing was actually hitting me, as you can see. So if you put your SOH here as well and you walk all the way to this corner, you end up getting a ball like this whenever you stance out. So here I'm DCing early, which I really wouldn't recommend. Always DC like a little bit before the mesmers get there. And also if you're low on HP, you can hoss off the mesmers when they're spiking if you're worried about dying. But here they spike everything. I put up IU so I don't get crippled again. And then I dash and recall out. And then as soon as you see Shadow Form ping, make sure you take the quest, and you are going to run back towards the start of Gloom. So you're always going to recall the TK here, and they kind of messed it up here, which is fine. But you recall them, and then if you have time, you put up Shadow Form, and then you use recall out and run towards the start of Gloom. They didn't glitch the mobs in this run, which is fine. I have toolbox, so I can just pop a mini pet. So I like to put SOH somewhere up here, just so I can get to the chest quicker. But if your team is slow at Deathbringer, you'll have to replace SOH. So normally there would be spirits here, and you would just DC down, and I don't have SF for that, because unless there's casters here, you don't need SF. So I hoss down, and then I always recall like this NPC or the other one, just so I can take the quest for Deathbringer quicker, which is this one. And then you were going to run to this little corner where I'm standing right now, and as you can see with the line on the minimap, that's the path the NPC takes. So you're just going to kind of like take a step or two off the wall near the corner there, and then you're just going to body block the NPC. Now if your team is fast at Deathbringer, like they spike it on spawn and it's a 1-dot, then you won't be able to wait for the NPC to run up to you before you can take. But I usually just always sit here unless I'm doing records or something, because even if they are super quick at Deathbringer, it's like a 2-second time loss or something if you just wait for them to run you. So whenever the quest is updated, you take it and you stance out, and you run and go get your chest. If the team is slow in darkness, whenever you get here, you can recall the invisible NPC that spawns on the chest, and then you can like run over here, put an SOH, and then recall out. So whenever you take your chest, you can just stance out with Dark Escape or dash, and you can get the Foundry faster. But since we started Foundry, you wouldn't need to do that. But anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to PM me in game. Thank you for watching.